Welcome to a world with limitless possibilities. A world with pain and suffering. Matched only by the sounds of those who endure it. Welcome to your nightmare.
Welcome to your nightmare.
Your nightmare. Hello everyone and welcome back to Nightmare. For tonight's tale, I'd love to narrate a tale for you called I Asked for Help and I Got It. Written by Reddit Captain 1234589 on Reddit No Sleep. I do hope you enjoy. Mom and Dad have always been mean to me. Sometimes are worse than others. Like when Dad has his special drinks, or when Mom locks herself into the bathroom. Those are the worst days. On those days, I get scared and I hide in my closet. Today was one of those days. I was sitting on the couch watching TV with the volume muted so I wouldn't bother them. Dad went to the fridge and pulled out his special drink, and Mom headed to the bathroom. This time, Dad went into the bathroom with Mom. It was quiet for a while, but then I heard the yelling. I felt fear wash over me and ran to my closet. I pulled my knees to my chest, holding them tightly with my eyes closed. As I rocked back and forth, I whispered over and over, "Someone please help me." After what seemed like hours, it got quiet. I sat very still, listening for any kind of sound. I could hear Mom in the kitchen and Dad unmuted the TV. I decided that it was safe to come out and slowly reached for the handle when I saw something out of the corner of my eye. I looked over and found a door, a small door in the wall of my closet, just big enough to fit a small child in. Had it always been there? If it had, I can understand how it could have gone unseen, as I only hide here while Mom and Dad are angry. I sat in silence looking at the door. Should I open it? Would it even open? I decided to give it a try, but to my dismay it wouldn't open. I left my closet just in time for Mom to bust into my room and grab me by the hair, as I kicked and screamed trying to free myself. Mom dragged me all the way to the kitchen. "Mom, please, let me go," I begged. But my pleas went unheard or ignored. Once we made it to the table, she let go, letting my head bounce off of the floor. My head hurt and I could feel the lump forming on the back, but I got up and took my place at the table. I looked down at my plate, holding back the tears that threatened to spill down my face. The plate had raw chicken, instant mashed potatoes that were lumped together, and what was supposed to be green bean casserole, but it looked to be weeks old. I looked at Mom's plate and then to Dad's. Their plates looked like they came out of a restaurant. Meatloaf cooked to perfection, mashed potatoes with brown gravy, spinach, and fried okra. I looked down at my plate, my stomach starting to turn. "Well, are you going to eat it or not?" I heard my mom ask. "Is it not to your liking? Are you going to be a piggy spoiled brat about your food too?" I could hear the anger build in her voice. fear once again urging me to run to my closet, but I knew I wouldn't make it if I did. So I opted for the alternative. I ate my food, but this was not a good choice. With every bite I would gag, trying to be as quiet as possible and not make it obvious. This upset Mom. Trying to swallow another bite of chicken, the gag that erupted from me was ear-shattering compared to the silence. And I felt it. Almost as soon as it left my mouth, Mom backhanded me onto the floor. I curled into the fetal position, waiting for the worst. "Get out of my sight," she said. I peeked up and saw her standing over me, her whole body shaking. I jumped up and ran, but I knew I wouldn't get far. I never did. I would always be pulled back for the beating. Something was strange this time. I made it to my safe place. I started to silently cry, happy I escaped my beating. I haven't escaped in so long. I felt a relief I hadn't felt in years wash over me. It was comforting and warm. I sighed, a small smile on my face. I turned my head to the little door on the wall. It was open. Not wide open, but cracked. I reached for its knob and pulled it open even further. The air that came out smelled musky and like death. It made my eyes water, and my gag reflexes kick in. I covered my nose, trying to hold my food in. I looked into the door. It was a darkness I had never seen. It looked void and seemed to carry a small echo when no noises were made. The sound of glass shattering made me jump. Mom and Dad were fighting again. I could hear the sounds of slaps, punches, and kicks, screaming, crying, and stuff being thrown around. The fear I felt made me cold. Pushing myself into the darkest corner of my closet, I pulled my knees to my chest and hugged them tightly, whispering, "Someone, please help me." After a while, the noises died down. I slowly looked up, making sure to be quiet. No sound but the TV and running water in the kitchen. I let myself relax. I turned my head back to the door. Instead of an empty door, I see a face peeking out at me. Its eyes looked like its eyelids had been cut away. Its mouth reached ear to ear. Lips that looked like they hadn't been moisturized in years. Blood slowly trickling from them. Its skin was loose and baggy around its skull. In the place its nose should have been was a hole. What shocked me the most was that I wasn't scared. The fear that usually took me was non-existent. Its eyes seemed to hold sadness, pity, maybe a little of both. My door, busting open, brought back the fear. I looked at the door, and it now had a long, pointy, bony finger over its lips in a shushing gesture. I listened. "Come out, you little fuck!" my dad screamed. I squeezed into the corner and closed my eyes. "Someone, please help me," I whispered out. The door on the closet began to rattle. Tears started flowing from my face. Then I heard him run from the room and into the bathroom. Dad's drinks made him sick again. Though I hated knowing he was sick, I felt relief. I opened my eyes to see the creature was sitting across from me. My mouth gaped open. It was huge. I looked from the door to this creature. How did it fit? I looked back at the creature. Its body was covered in loose skin hanging off of it. Its fingers long and pointy. A strange smell came from it. Nothing like the smell that came from the door, but still bad. Again, I wasn't scared, but relaxed. I should be scared, I thought, but I wasn't. After sitting with it for a long time, I made my way out of the closet, waving before I left the creature sitting there. I crawled into bed and went to sleep. I woke up to the sense that someone was watching me. Run, 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 was all I could think. But the fear had my body frozen. I knew what it was, who it was. Dad was here for me. I tried to act like I was sleeping, but it never worked. He yanked me out of the bed and onto the floor. I curled up as much as I could. He was screaming at me, but his voice faded out as I was just whispering for someone to help me. Then I felt it. Dad kicked me in the back. The scream that came out of me caused a chain reaction of punches, kicks, and screams to come my way. I was never supposed to make a noise when I got punished. Then it was all gone. A sickening crack, followed by silence, was all I heard. I slowly turned my head to see the creature holding my dad by his neck, his body not moving and his head turned all the way around. I buried my face once again, starting to sob. Not because my dad was dead, but because someone came to save me. I looked up in time to see it dragging Dad to the door, crunching bones and tearing skin as he forced his lifeless body through. It turned to me, stretched out his finger and wiped a tear from my face. It opened its mouth as if to speak, but turned and crawled back through the little door. I lay there, trying to will all the pain away. I forced myself to stand and close the closet door, peeking at the little door before shutting it. I made my way back to my bed, where I sank into my covers and fell asleep. The next morning, I woke to Mom screaming. I jumped out of the bed and ran to my closet. I heard things break and fall, things being knocked over and thrown. She came to my room, but when she didn't see me, she came to the closet door trying to open it. She banged and kicked on the door. "Come out, you little bitch! What did you do?" I pushed my body into the corner as much as I could, waiting for her to open the door. I heard the door open and a squeaky sound. "Someone please help me," I whispered while I cried. There was silence. I waited for pain. I waited for screams. But then it came. A scream I had never heard leave my mom's mouth. I looked up, and there he was, holding my mom by the chest. She screamed and kicked as she tried to free herself. She looked at me and begged me to help, begged me to save her. The creature turned to me and tilted his head. I looked between Mom and the creature. He looked as if he was waiting. I slowly nodded my head, and as soon as I did, he opened his mouth and put my mom's head inside. Her screams became muffled before they stopped, and her body went limp. Blood spewed from where her head should have been. It covered the floor, splattering the walls and the ceiling. I watched as the creature clamped his mouth around my mom's chest, looking as though he were sucking soda out of a straw. My mom's body began to shrivel, her skin hugging her bones as everything was sucked out of her. The creature turned to the door as he finished and shoved my mom's body into his door. He did not go back in. He closed the door and sat next to me. He opened his mouth and a sound came out. It sounded like Mom, but also like Dad, like they were speaking together.
You asked for help. I gave it.
That is all for tonight's episode. I do hope everyone enjoyed this evening's story, and you continue to listen to us next week. And until next time, sleep well.